We spent this Advent season reflecting on the theme of making room. And we've talked about making room in our lives for stillness so that God can hear our voice and we can hear His alive in our hearts. We've reflected on those inevitable changes of life, some that come unexpectedly, and others that we decide must happen through contemplation and prayer. And of course, just last week, Father invited us to think about our lives and to see our lives from the perspective of God. And that you and I are called to do good works, to glorify His name. This week, we are called to make room for the impossible. At times, you and I face moments in life that seem impossible. I know you know what I'm talking about. You are joining us online. You're probably thinking about those times in life that issues faced you and your family, and you must have thought to yourself, this is impossible. It might have been all sorts of different things that we face. Maybe a frightening diagnosis, a relationship that seems to be breaking apart. Some of you, of course, are thinking, how are we going to pay for college for our kids, for our grandchildren? An unexpected bill shows up, and at some point you sit back and you say, this is impossible. But you know, it's at those very moments that God breaks into our lives. Breaks into our lives to help us to see our way through those challenges. To help us to find a way. Find a way through the fear, through the pain, through the darkness, and into planning to make things better. Because we know, as our scriptures tell us, that through God all things are possible. And the beautiful thing is that He invites you and me to be co-authors in that story. Many years ago, there was a young family who faced a number of impossible situations. The father of the family had been hospitalized. There was no money for presents or food. There was no Christmas tree. The house was cold, and the mortgage was past due. Everything seemed to be crashing around them. But 2 days before Christmas, the mother of the family received a call from the bank. And the bank manager told her, your mortgage has been paid and you're up to date. Merry Christmas. And stunned, she hung up the phone. Later that day, a Christmas tree arrived, complete with some of the most beautiful lights the family had ever seen. And so the family spent most of the afternoon creating homemade decorations for that tree. Beautiful little snowflakes and stars that were cut out from paper, and blessed the tree of the family with great joy. And just as they were decorating their tree, a truck pulled up and groceries came out of it. The man said, these are a gift from you, a gift for you and your family this holiday season. And as he was returning to his truck, a horn sounded from the street. It was the oil man. And he couldn't maneuver his way into the driveway to get access to the oil tank. You know, that family, they couldn't really have imagined anything else. Everything that had happened in that day amazed them because they thought it was impossible. And they didn't need Christmas presents. They said to one another, you know, we have such joy because we have one another, we have heat, we we have food, we have one another. But later in the evening, on Christmas Eve, a big red bag arrived on the front porch filled with toys and presents for the family. And a note from Santa Claus that said, "God bless you. We love you." Christians are people who are made for impossible things because God has done impossible things in our lives. And we know that with God, as the angel says in our gospel today, all things are possible. And it's wonderful to know that you and I are called to be a part of that blessing, a part of making impossible situations go away and be replaced only with the possible. In our gospel today, we hear the story of the Annunciation. That is to say, the announcement to Mary that she would bear a son by the power of the Holy Spirit. This seemed impossible to her. Mary says, "How can this be, since I have no relations with a man?" But Mary was willing to trust in God. Her question was not one of doubt, but was filled with wonder and awe. Wonder at the power of God alive in her heart, alive in her life. And it was a place that she had made room for in her life. The angel says to her, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore, the child to be born will be called Holy, the Son of God." And it is said that at this very moment, that all the angels and saints and creation itself stopped and listened for her answer. Mary could have embraced the impossible, or she can reject it at this moment. She has a choice. Accept God, make room for Him in her life, and embrace the impossible or not. And for a moment, it was unclear what she would choose. And the world waited for her to answer. And Mary says, "Behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord. May it be done to me according to your word." It was Mary's faith in God and trust in Him that made the impossible possible that day. She took the time to make room in her life. Room for stillness, room for change, room to see her life through the eyes of God and to do good. And because of this, God was able to accomplish wonderful things through her. This Advent and Christmas season, God wishes to do amazing things through you and me. Because when we make room for God in our lives, we make the impossible possible.